Good evening, viewers. You're watching the news on Sansad Television with me, Rashika. In the next half an hour, we'll take you through the top developments of the day. But before that, a look at the headlines of the evening. Presidential election dates announced. Nomination process to begin from 15th of June. Voting, if needed, to take place on 18th of July. Counting of votes on 21st July. Prime Minister Modi addresses Biotech Startup Expo. Asserts India's bioeconomy grew eightfold in last 8 years, will play key role in accelerating economic growth. Over 7,000 daily cases of COVID recorded in last 24 hours. Centre puts Kerala, Delhi, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Telangana on alert. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hands over 12 fast-speed boats to Vietnam under $100 million credit line. Calls the project best example of India's Make in India, Make for the World initiative. Monsoon makes steady progress across India. Warning of torrential rains in many northeastern states. Monsoon active in parts of Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Now look at the coming stories in the national wrap. Delhi court extends enforcement directorate custody of AAP Minister Satyendra Jain in money laundering case till June 13th. IIS seizes top Indian university in global rankings, overtakes IITs in World University Rankings 2022. President Ramnath Kovind addresses annual convocation of IIM Jammu. Prime Minister Modi to participate in Gujarat Gaurav Abhiyan program on 10th June. Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma carries out cabinet reshuffle, inducts 2 new ministers. Delhi Police files FIR against suspended BJP leader Nupur Sharma. After IAEA resolution criticizes it for failing to explain uranium traces, Iran turns off cameras at nuclear sites installed by global nuclear watchdog. At least 22 killed as passenger van falls in ravine in Balochistan. European Parliament votes to ban sale of new petrol and diesel cars by 2035 to fight climate change. At least 17 people killed, 4 missing in floods and landslides in the central Chinese province of Hunan. India's bioeconomy has grown 8 times in the last 8 years, from $10 billion to $80 billion, asserted Prime Minister Modi on Thursday. He was addressing the Biotech Startup Expo in Delhi. The Prime Minister noted that the country is close to reaching the league of top 10 countries in the global ecosystem of biotech. He observed that 70,000 startups are established in about 60 different industries. Talking about the shift of talent towards the sector, he said investors in the biotech sector have risen 9 times and biotech incubators and funding for them has increased 7 times. The Biotech Startup Expo 2022 is a 2-day event to mark the completion of 10 years of setting up of Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council.
Diverse population, diverse climate zones. दूसरा, भारत का टैलेंटेड ह्यूमन कैपिटल पूल. तीसरा, भारत में ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस के लिए बढ़ रहे प्रयास. चौथा, भारत में लगातार बढ़ रही बायो प्रोडक्ट्स की डिमांड. और पांचवा, भारत के बायोटेक सेक्टर यानी आपकी सफलताओं का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड.
The Election Commission announced the dates for the presidential election on Thursday. President Ramnath Kovind's term ends on 24th of July. Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar said the notification for the election will be issued on June 15th and June 29 will be the last date to file nomination papers. Scrutiny will take place on June 30th. July 2nd will be the last date for withdrawal of nominations. The presidential election, if needed, will be on 18th July and the counting of votes on 21st of July. 4,809 members of the Electoral College, which includes 776 MPs and 4,033 MLAs, will elect the new president.
50 members of the Electoral College will propose and another set of 50 will second. They would be not common, new. An elector can subscribe to only one nomination, paper of a candidate, as either a proposer or a seconder.
A pen with special ink will be provided for the voting. To vote, candidates will have to indicate their preference by writing their preference in marks. If the first choice is not given, the vote is cancelled. No whip can be used by political parties. Voting will take place in Parliament and legislative assemblies. The Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha is the election in charge. After the issue of the notification, candidates can visit all the states to seek votes in their favour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Thursday handed over to Vietnam 12 high-speed guard boats built under a $100 million line of credit granted by India. The boats were transferred at a ceremony in the Hong Ha shipyard. Both countries are deepening maritime security cooperation to deal with Beijing's increasing military assertiveness in the South China Sea region. Rajnath Singh said the project is a glowing example of Make in India, Make for the World, as envisioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The minister invited Vietnam to become a part of India's defence industrial transformation through enhanced cooperation. India will host a special Asean India Foreign Ministers meeting on the 16th and 17th of this month. It will mark the 30th anniversary of the dialogue and the 10th anniversary of the India strategic partnership with ASEAN. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Singapore's Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan will co-chair the meeting. Foreign ministers of other ASEAN member states and ASEAN Secretary General will participate in the meeting. The year 2022 has been designated as the Asean India Friendship Year by MEA.
India will host the special ASEAN India Foreign Ministers meeting, SAI-FM, on 16th-17th June to mark the 30th anniversary of our dialogue relations and the 10th anniversary of our strategic partnership with ASEAN.
And in other news from across the nation, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said businesses should avoid the culture of aggressive short-term profit-making. He said it is not right to do so without asserting the excess risk. Das was addressing a program organized by the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. A special court in Mumbai dismissed petitions filed by Maharashtra Minister Nawab Malik and Foreign Minister and former Minister Anil Deshmukh seeking bail for a day for voting in the Rajya Sabha election to be held on Friday. The Supreme Court reserves its order on a number of petitions seeking special stray-round counselling to fill up 1,456 seats in NEET PG 2021. The court will pronounce its order on Friday. Coal India Limited has floated the first tender for importing 24.16 lakh tons of coal to facilitate supply of fuel to power plants in the country. The development assumes significance in the wake of the government making all-out efforts to build up coal reserves to avoid a repeat of the power cuts caused by fossil fuel shortages in April. 5 Indian schools have been included in the list of top 10 list of world's best schools awards in the UK. These awards of $2.5 million have been announced in Britain for the contribution made towards the progress of the society. The nation is paying tribute to freedom fighter Bhagwan Birsa Munda on his death anniversary. Tribal communities across the country refer to him as Bhagwan or God. Home Minister Amit Shah also paid tribute to Birsa Munda. Now let us take a look at some stories from the world of business and economy. In today's business stories, the Sensex on Thursday jumped 427 points to settle at 55,320 with heavy buying in industry majors Reliance Industries, Bharti Airtel and Tech Mahindra. The NSE Nifty advanced to 121.85 points to settle at 16,478.10. Meanwhile, in Asia, markets in Shanghai, Seoul and Hong Kong ended lower, while Tokyo settled higher. The Hang Seng Index was down by 145.5 points. US stock index futures rose on Thursday, led by Tesla, that saw a 3.5% jump in pre-market trading. Fuel prices across 4 metros in India remained unchanged for the 18th day, with petrol in Delhi costing rupees 96.72 a litre. In Mumbai, it was rupees 111.35 per litre. CNG prices in the NCR was rupees 75.61 per kilogram. As for the international oil benchmark, Brent crude closed at $123.42 per barrel. FDI inflows to India declined $19 billion to touch $45 billion in 2021, but the country still remained among the top 10 global economies for FDI last year, the United Nations said on Thursday. However, prospects for this year are grimmer as global FDI in 2022 and beyond will be affected by the security and humanitarian crisis caused by the Ukraine war, among other factors. The RBI will soon come out with regulatory architecture for digital lending platforms, Governor Das said on Thursday. Speaking at the iconic week celebration as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Das suggested that customers borrowing from unregistered digital lending apps should approach the local police in case of any problem. Online beauty products marketplace Purple becomes India's 102nd unicorn, or a startup valued at $1 billion or more, coming days after the PhysicsWallah and EdTech company. The company aims to further boost its presence in the Indian market and scale up industry-first innovation. Time for a short break here. On the other side, how manufacturers are tinkering with product package sizes to pass on price increases to unsuspecting consumers.
India has become a major contributor to international maritime security and its evolving norms.
India has once again turned towards the seas and is destined to emerge as a resurgent maritime nation.
Why is the Indo-Pacific maritime space so important?
This has happened partly because of the rise of China.
We all know the importance of good health, but often we don't know how to achieve it. There's plenty of information available, but again, we don't know what is right and what is wrong. To know the truth and get your answers straight from some of India's top specialists, join me, Dr. Amrish Mithal, on Healthy India, only on Sansad TV.
Welcome back after the break. Time now for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. In all the developments related to the conflict in Ukraine, Ukrainian forces are still holding the industrial zone in the city of Severodonetsk. Its mayor says the defense lines were holding despite intense Russian artillery fire, but it was now impossible to evacuate people from Severodonetsk. He said about 10,000 civilians are in the city. That is now the main focus of Russia's offensive in Ukraine. Workers are removing bodies from the ruins of high-rise buildings in the devastated Ukrainian port city of Mariupol. 5,200 bodies have been found in each of nearly 2/5 buildings. Ukraine authorities estimate at least 21,000 civilians were killed and hundreds of buildings destroyed during a week-long Russian siege of Mariupol. Visiting Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met his Turkish counterpart in Ankara to discuss the ongoing Ukraine crisis and a possible sea corridor for Ukraine's goods export. The United Nations said it is pursuing a deal that will allow grain exports from Ukraine through the Black Sea and unimpeded access to world markets for Russian food and fertilizers. Secretary General Antonio Guterres told UN correspondents that without the deal, hundreds of millions of people in developing countries face the threat of an unprecedented wave of hunger. Ukrainian President Zelensky says Russia is unwilling to negotiate an end to the war because it still feels strong. Zelensky told US corporate leaders via video link that there is a need to weaken Russia and the world is supposed to do it. The Kremlin does not expect Gazprom to cut gas supplies to any more European customers, adding that its scheme to make buyers pay for their gas in rubles was functioning as intended. Gazprom has cut supplies to some European countries for refusing to make payments for Russian gas in rubles. Russia's Deputy Prime Minister says the country's economy is growing despite sanctions. He said due to the measures taken by the President Putin, the government and the Bank of Russia, the economic war against did not go according to the plan of those who unleashed it. He said Russia's economy grew by about 1.7% over the last 4 months, and that in May, inflation practically stopped. Now time for some other global updates. In a first-of-its-kind United Nations General Assembly meeting, China and Russia defended their vetoes of a strongly backed US proposal that would have increased pressure on North Korea for its nuclear program. The landmark session held on Wednesday was the first at which permanent members of the Security Council had to explain their use of veto, a step mandated under a resolution adopted by the General Assembly in April. The close allies reiterated their opposition to more sanctions, blaming the US for rising tensions on the Korean peninsula. Basil Rajapaksa, the youngest brother of Sri Lanka's president and former finance minister, resigned from his parliamentary seat on Thursday. This is the second such resignation from the government in a month from the powerful Rajapaksa family amid public protest over an unprecedented economic crisis in the island nation. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's elder brother Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned as Prime Minister last month. As prices of essentials surge globally, it is not just the consumers who are having to recalibrate their shopping decisions. Manufacturers are resorting to what is being termed shrinkflation as they quietly shrink the size of their products while charging the same money.
It's the inflation you're not supposed to see. From toilet paper to yogurt and coffee to corn chips, manufacturers are quietly shrinking packet sizes without lowering the prices. It's dubbed shrinkflation, and it is accelerating worldwide. In the United States, a small box of Kleenex now has 60 tissues. A few months ago, it had 65. Chobani Flip's yogurts have shrunk from 5.3 ounces to 4.5 ounces. In the UK, Nestle slimmed down its Nescafe Azera Americano coffee tins from 100 grams to 90 grams. While in India, a bar of Vim dish soap has shrunk from 155 grams to 135 grams. Experts say shrinkflation is not new, but it proliferates in times of high inflation.
Shrinkflation tends to come in waves. When there are periods of high inflation, like we're in now, we see more manufacturers choosing, instead of raising the price, to make the products a little bit smaller. That's kind of a sneaky way of passing on a price increase because they hope most consumers are not going to catch it.
According to experts, shrinkflation appeals to manufacturers because they know customers will notice price increases but won't keep track of net weights or small details like the number of sheets on a roll of toilet paper. Companies also draw attention away from downsizing, like marking smaller packages with bright new labels that draw the shopper's eyes. While some companies are straightforward about the changes. For example, in Japan, snack maker Calbee Inc. announced 10% weight reductions and 10% price increases for many of its products in May, including veggie chips and crispy edamame. In India, down-switching, which is another term for shrinkflation, is mostly done in rural areas where people are more price sensitive. While in cities, companies simply jack up the prices. Customers who have noticed the downsizing are sharing examples on social media. Others say shrinkflation is causing them to change their shopping habits. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And in other global news, the United States House of Representatives has passed a law to control the sale of guns to civilians. It has raised the legal age for buying assault rifles from 18 years to 21 years. The House also introduced new federal offenses for gun trafficking and selling high-capacity magazines in the country. However, the law is unlikely to be passed in the Senate as the Republican opposition is pursuing negotiations focused on improving mental health programs and bolstering school security. Thousands of COVID-19 testing booths have come up across Beijing and other Chinese cities in the latest twist to the country's zero-COVID strategy. Major cities have been told to set up testing stations within a 15-minute walk for all residents. Many cities, including Beijing, are requiring a negative test result within the last 3 days to enter a public place or take the bus or subway. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has convened a political conference where he will review state affairs, including a COVID-19 outbreak, and possibly address relations with Washington and Seoul amid his nuclear brinkmanship. The plenary meeting of the ruling Workers' Party's Central Committee, which began on Wednesday in Pyongyang, may last several days. A former governor of Lagos, Nigeria's largest city, has been nominated to be the ruling party's candidate in next year's presidential election. Bola Tinubu, widely referred to as the godfather of Lagos, polled a majority of the votes on Wednesday at the convention of the All Progressive Congress Party. More than 2,300 delegates voted in the convention held in Abuja, the nation's capital. Thailand became the first Asian country to legalize the growing of marijuana and its consumption in food and drinks on Thursday, with the aim to boost agriculture and tourism sectors. The country's public health minister will reportedly distribute 1 million marijuana seedlings beginning Friday. Researchers in UK have created a special gel which could be used to help repair the damage caused by heart attacks. In laboratory experiments, they found the gel can deliver regenerating stem cells to the part of the organ which needs to be healed.
This is a microscopic view of the biodegradable gel embedded with stem cells. Researchers believe it could in future heal the damage that heart attack patients suffer after a cardiac arrest. During an attack, blood and oxygen are cut off from the heart, causing muscle cells to waste away and die. The aim is to deliver stem cells to the heart. These can regenerate and effectively rebuild areas where the tissue is damaged. So far, the research has only been tested in healthy mice in a laboratory at the University of Manchester. The gel with stem cells survived for 2 weeks after being injected into the hearts. Lead researcher Catherine King says, "This shows the stem cells can be held inside the hearts long enough for the stem cells to start growing." The research successfully shows the gel does no harm and can act as a structure for the stem cells. The next stage is to see whether the stem cells delivered in this way can repair tissue damage in the heart. The research has been funded by the British Heart Foundation, a UK research charity that focuses on heart diseases of various kinds. Globally, over 9 million people each year die from coronary heart disease, the most common cause of heart failure. Without a solution, people are forced to seek heart transplants, which are in short supply and which could be rejected by the body it's being transplanted into. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Time now for all the sporting action. Starting with badminton, fourth seed PV Sindhu has made it to the quarterfinals of the Indonesia Masters Super 500 badminton tournament. Sindhu came through a difficult first two games against Gregoria Mariska Tunjung from Indonesia. Sindhu won the match 23-21, 20-22, 21-11. Lakshya Sen progressed to the quarterfinals of the Indonesia Masters Super 500 badminton tournament with a straight game with over Denmark's Rasmus Gemke. The 20-year-old Sen prevailed 21-18, 21-15 over world number 13 Gemke in 54 minutes. Sen, seeded 7th, will next be pitted against Chinese Taipei 3rd seed Zhao Tenshen. In football, Sunil Chhetri struck a brace to inspire India to a 2-0 win over Cambodia in the opening match of the Asian Cup qualifying match in Kolkata. Returning from an injury layoff, Chhetri scored on either side of the break. With 82 goals in 127 matches, Chhetri now sits behind only Portugal superstar Cristiano Ronaldo and Argentina virtuoso Lionel Messi in terms of goals scored for the national team. Ronaldo has 117 and Messi 86 goals. In cricket, Mumbai today broke the world record for highest margin of victory in history of first-class cricket as they crushed Menos Uttarakhand by a staggering 725 runs on the fourth day of the Ranji Trophy quarter-final match and stormed into the semi-finals. Mumbai broke New South Wales' 92-year-old Sheffield Shield record when they beat Queensland by 685 runs. In the Ranji Trophy, the previous record for highest margin for victory was held by Bengal, who had defeated Orissa by 540 runs in 1953-54. Pakistan captain Babar Azam continued his rich vein of form in international cricket as he slammed a century in the first ODI against West Indies in Multan to set up the foundation for an exciting chase, which saw the host reach a target of 306 runs with 4 balls to spare. Babar, who made 103 of 107 balls, saw him surpass more than 1,000 runs in ODIs since taking over as Pakistan's captain. He also reached his feet in just 13 innings and has thus beaten former Indian captain Virat Kohli's record of 17 innings. Dozens of activists gathered at Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro, in which they called Aquele Abraço, or that hug, draw attention to the improper disposal of waste on World Oceans Day on Wednesday. Before we wrap, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Presidential election dates announced. Nomination process to begin from 15th of June. Voting, if needed, to take place on 18th of July. Counting on votes on 21st of July. Prime Minister Modi addresses Biotech Startup Expo, asserts India's bioeconomy grew 8-fold in last 8 years, will play key role in accelerating economic growth. Over 7,000 daily cases of COVID recorded in last 24 hours. Centre puts Kerala, Delhi, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Telangana on alert. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hands over 12 fast-speed boats to Vietnam under $100 million credit line. Calls the project best example of India's Make in India, Make for the World initiative. Monsoon makes steady progress across India. Warning of torrential rains in many northeastern states. Monsoon active in parts of Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. That's all we have in this bulletin. To keep yourself updated, stay tuned to Sansad Television. Good night.